Hi, everyone. Welcome to Elevating the Genre again. Um, my usual co-host, Chris, is off shooting a movie this month in Brussels, Belgium, because he's extra fancy. So for a while, we're going to have some co-hosts, and today I have my friend and colleague, HP Mendoza.
Hello.
And hello, HP. My shorthand introduction of you would be you're a filmmaker and a musical enthusiast and a fellow Robotech fan. Would you like
Yeah.
to elaborate on that
Well, yeah.
for
It's
our
interesting.
dozens, perhaps hundreds of listeners?
I am a filmmaker in San Francisco who kind of, I guess, made a sort of name from doing musicals. The first one being Colma the musical that I did with Richard Wong, and the next one being Fruit Fly. And the people kind of said, "Oh, you're the musical guy," which is interesting because I see myself as a geek first and foremost. And I think both of those musicals are pretty geeky. One of them's a little gayer than it is geeky, but they're both pretty geeky. Um, so I'm somewhere like I'm like a Gaysian geek, and
Right.
yeah, and I do have a love for Robotech. I do have a love for Robotech, specifically Robotech. Actually, like if you were to say, oh, so you mean like you're a fan of Macross and Southern Cross and Genesis Climber Mospeada? It's like no, Robotech. Like I grew up with that. I'm an American.
Yeah, exactly. It's excellently that you're a geeky Gaysian musical person because today's topic we're going to get into the intersection of musicals and geekiness. But first, we'll do the thing, which is what's elevating our genre this week. And I'll just say quickly, what's elevating my genre in the first week of this new year is this issue of Totally Awesome Hulk, which just came out like maybe last month. I just picked up a physical copy of recently. For those of you who don't know, the Hulk is currently Amadeus Cho. He's a Korean American guy. It's also written by Greg Pak, who is one of our esteemed Korean American comic writers and maybe a guest host later in this month. And so he just had this smart idea he would run into Jeremy Lin in this episode. So in this issue, the Totally Awesome Hulk meets Jeremy Lin, and they play a Space Jam-esque basketball game against some aliens for charity. And it's a first of a two-parter. I don't know what happens, but to be checking all my boxes, it's pretty awesome.
Awesome.
So anyway, that's what's elevating my genre at the moment. Do you have any such thing, HP?
What's elevating my genre this week is I just watched Rogue One, and
Ah,
it was a big step for me because when I first heard about Rogue One, I was that curmudgeon. I was like, oh, come on, the first thought I had was, now we're breaking with the episodes, you know, and thinking
mm,
like, well, where's this gonna go? And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's going to be so unfair. Now we're not, this isn't episode 8. This isn't episode 3.5. It's not an episode. It's literally called Rogue One. And I remember thinking, well, then we're going to have all kinds of stories. We're going to have the Ewok Adventure 2. We're going to have like all these different Christmas specials now. And I watched it. I did. I went and watched it. And I was pleasantly surprised. Why? Because I was kind of I'm entering this phase in my life where I'm like, am I enjoying nostalgia way too much? Like I feel like I'm watching all of my
absolutely,
favorite geeky things.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
watching like some of my favorite geeky things. One of the major ones being The Force Awakens, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm enjoying this the way I would enjoy Star Tours at Disneyland. Or
Mm,
I'm enjoying this the way I enjoy watching anything that kind of hits any Pavlovian buttons on me.
yeah,
But is it good? Because
right,
for the
right.
most part, I'm watching a lot of geeky things, a lot of genre movies, especially a lot of good horror movies and
Mm,
sci-fi, where I'm like, oh, this feels good because it's so reminiscent of that other movie. You know,
yeah,
that other movie that is good and is originally good. And I will say
yeah.
Rogue One is original. It may have a lot of these moments where it's like, oh, here's a greatest hits. Like for no reason, let's have C-3PO and R2-D2 say like a line.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
for
I
the most
thought
part, it's
for
a
me that Force Awakens played that way more than Rogue One, which is why I think Rogue One's a superior film.
absolutely.
Can we
I
get it?
totally
Yeah,
agree. It's well because Rogue One's a movie. You
yeah,
know,
it is.
The Force Awakens again. I enjoy it, but I don't know if it's a great movie. And I know that might be blasphemy to a lot of people. You can write hate mail to me if you want, but I just feel like The Force Awakens, I enjoy the way I enjoy a greatest hits of my favorite artist. and Rogue
Right.
One. Rogue One's a film. So that's to me. It kind of restored my faith. Now I'm like, okay, fine, make as many extra Star Wars movies as you want.
It's funny. Your skepticism was totally understandable, but in a strange way, yeah, they just turned out a good movie with that one. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that sentiment. Okay, and that of course could be a whole podcast that length, and maybe we'll take it up at some future time. But great. So since we both have a genre elevating for this week, we'll dive into our topic, which is great musical moments in geek culture. And I'm just going to frame this a little bit like for me, and feel free to disagree or toss this around as you like. But I'm also a fellow musical geek. You know, I've been involved in my share of, small theater rock musicals. And the one thing I've always really appreciated about the musical genre is that the central thing of people bursting into song or dance spontaneously is something that could happen in real life, but just doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So in that sense, it's the basic motif of musicals, which some people think is ridiculous, is really a place where fantasy meets reality in a kind of, for me, an elevating way, because there's really no reason why we don't just go around singing and dancing, and if someone did, we would think it would be like some kind of supernatural thing had happened. But really, I guess what I'm saying is the possibility of that is a supernatural power that's within all of us. And so for me, that's why the musical moments, song-oriented moments, are I always look out for them in their and I think they elevate many of my favorite genres. So we're going to run through a few of them. We might come back to Robotech because we talked about that in an earlier episode at some point. Definitely a high example. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned this. What is the scene from The Abyss that you were talking about? Because I really like The Abyss.
Wait, have you not seen the director's cut?
No, I don't. I've not seen the director's cut.
It's his definitive cut. Basically, the theatrical version is like 140 minutes, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then there's his cut, which is 3 exact hours. And it cut out a whole storyline. And if you ever felt like the ending started going a little too fast, it's because it was. So because they don't ever really show what the aliens, or sorry, the NTIs are doing to Earth, and in this director's cut, it shows. And I don't want to be spoiler central, but it shows it. And aside from
here on the podcast, if it's over 10 years old, it's like spoiler alert, but fuck you because you could have seen it by now.
I know. So I hear you there. However, there's this highly anticipated re-release of The Abyss coming.
Oh my God, is there?
They've been talking about it for 3 years because there's a new 4K scan of it out there. And they've been like a lot of my friends who are actually like working in audio have been talking about this, like, restored audio, these restored audio files that are floating around from The Abyss. And one of them that a friend told me about was, I got my hands on like this restored audio from Willing, which is the missing musical number from The Abyss. And yeah, there's a scene in The Abyss. It's one of the loneliest parts of The Abyss. It's when they first, they get into their pods and they're all floating out, and you just have like this widescreen image of just all dark blue, and these like 5 points of light just kind of like slowly swimming their way toward the camera, and you hear this song being sung, and it's all in a cappella, and it's all over the radio. So it's like it has like a really lonely sound. So you have like this bass, like just kind of rumbling, and oh God, what's her name? The black lady in The Abyss. They all have James Cameron names. So her name's probably like Gunner or Bullet or something. But
absolutely.
Anyway, she's singing Willing by Linda Ronstadt. And as it's getting closer and closer, you hear like this, like just her voice, like very kind of radio-like, and she's singing. And and as they get closer, you hear it playing on her radio, so it sounds even lonelier because it's like a small tiny speaker. But because she's singing on the radio, everybody else joins in. And it's this great moment of like she's all alone, but then as it cuts to all the other people and everyone's singing, and then it kind of ends with this one solo where she lets her voice shine, and it's such a great moment. It's like it's like
awesome.
She's alone. Guess what? They're all with her. She's not alone. But then it finally ends with all of them like in like this like pitch blackness, and it's like, okay, yeah, she may not be alone with them, but all of them are alone.
Yeah,
in this abyss. Anyway, I love it.
That is absolutely what I'm talking about. And yeah, we didn't even set up the abyss because we just assume everyone knows what the abyss is. You should know what the abyss is. It's this James Cameron movie before Titanic. It's his other much better water movie. Anyway,
right?
back in the day, it's this huge undersea submarine epic with aliens, and who cares? The abyss has a musical scene, and you just told me about it, and that's fantastic because I didn't know. And of course, like at some point, someone probably said that was a silly thing, right?
Yep.
Some hater.
Yep.
And did not understand the wonderfulness of that.
Right. But it became famous for being hated. So when he re-released it theatrically, it was put back in, and people loved it so much that Michael Bay copied it in Armageddon.
Oh my God.
He did it with Leaving on a Jet Plane, and it was not as impactful because it's not about an abyss. You know, it's not about singing in the darkness of space. It's literally, hey, let's just do that scene from the abyss.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Michael Bay is so consistently ham-handed, especially with the musical things.
I know.
I could see. So yeah, so that's a good counter bad example. They're not. We're not just nerds who go for any musical moment in any movie. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're discerning. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. It also reminds me of
Dominic, you have to see it. Actually, if you don't mind watching it in standard def, just go to a video store and rent it on DVD because they have it. It's like a 2-disc DVD. And I mean, the video quality is bad by our standards now, but just so you can actually just go to YouTube and type "The Abyss Willin." But it might ruin it for you. You should see it.
I absolutely will. I'm willing to do that. I'm going to put a link into it in the show notes for sure. Okay, yeah, so that's a great moment. They're like moments when music bring the cast together in an unexpected but completely, empathic way. We know what that is, to be united by song spontaneously. I know. How do you feel about? Do you happen to know the song that Katniss sings at the end of Hunger Games 2.5 or 3.5?
Which she
sings a song about the hanging tree, which is kind of. It's on the fence for me at the moment, but.
I'm also on the fence about 3A myself as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel, I don't know, I am a Hunger Games fan, but I think by the end of 3A, yeah, you're right, she does sing something. I think by the end of 3A, I've kind of you know how you record scenes in your mind as you watch, I think like at the 3/4 mark of Hunger Games 3A of Mockingjay 1, I stopped recording. I was just like, I just want to move to the next movie.
Right, right, yeah.
So I hate to say it, but I kind of forgot that there was a musical number.
Yeah, well, it's yeah, like that one's kind of nice because for the reason you were saying, I tuned out of Hunger Games 3A for a while, but because I'm a nerd, that musical moment brought me back into it. Like, even though it was sort of inappropriate and sort of wrongly chosen as a song and sort of bad in all these ways, it also brought me into it just because it's like, I'd forgotten why I like Katniss,
Right.
Oh, look, she sings sometimes. Just like, oh, wait, that's kind of nice. So anyway, those are two good moments of cast singing within the context of the film, even though it may be a weird reason. I want to pose possibly a very large topic here. Can we talk a little bit about Transformers, the movie?
Oh, man. Anytime. What do you want to talk about?
Well, just as, as a youngling, how, as ridiculous it is, I don't know what the expectations that we had when I first saw it, but I could say without a doubt, those fucking rock songs elevated it way past what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It really did. It elevated it kind of on a social level for me. It's like, I think my love for Transformers was kind of relegated to me and all the other kids my age. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden Transformers the movie comes out and it felt a little more grown up. I mean, you know, characters died, so there's that, right? But on top of it, you had like, you know, real artists that you could actually buy in the store, you know? And there was something about that. And I think for me, Transformers was, you know, in my mind, like the coolest thing on earth. But I knew that my older brothers and all the other people around me saw that as a very kiddie thing, because I had all, you know, I had the toys and I collected all of them, and I was a big, you know, I was really big into the Transformers cities, and the grown-up thing that my older brothers were really into was heavy metal, which was, you know, holy crap, an R-rated animated film, right? And I watch a lot of R-rated animated films, but that was the most popular one. Yeah. And it had this super, super popular soundtrack. I mean, you know, Open Arms by Journey, Heavy Metal itself by Sammy Hagar, and they had like huge songs. And of course, like my older brothers, my uncles were all like metalheads, right? So when Transformers the movie comes out, I'm like, oh, this is legit. My family's gonna think this is legit. And I watched it in a movie theater with my two brothers and my uncles, and they looked shocked. I didn't realize they weren't shocked by the soundtrack. They were shocked that everyone got killed.
Oh, right. Yeah, because that, yeah. And those fucking Stan Bush songs, you just got them so, like, right, just the heroic charging, you know, against all odds kind of, you know, possibly up to Kenny Loggins' level of musical soundtracking, you know, just appropriateness. And I mean appropriateness in a good way.
The score too, though. The score was
different.
Also,
like, yeah. The score also.
I mean, I didn't know. You know, when you're a kid, you don't know what modern is. You know, a kid just as a kid, you're like, modern just means something new you haven't heard before, but it's not the old stuff. So to me, Transformers sounded modern. I didn't realize how 70s it sounded, even though it's an 80s show. When you listen to this score, it's like, oh, this actually kind of sounds like Chips, or it sounds like, you know, like it has like the big brassy, you know, like accompaniment. And it's, I mean, literally, like if you listen to the last chord of the Transformers theme song, it sounds like something you'd hear in James Bond. It's very 60s, 70s. So the movie, again, the movie, Transformers, the movie, Vince DiCola did the score, and like, whoa, it was like, I mean, Vince DiCola did like, you know, like Rocky IV and like a bunch of other movies. And so it had it had that modern sound. It's like, and to me, I was like, okay, Transformers have hit. This movie means that like I'm watching a grown-up movie now. So just the soundtrack, which by the way, there's a reissue. Do you know about that?
I think I do.
It's worth getting, because I bought the old soundtrack on cassette, and it only had like a few of the songs, and the reissue has every song in the movie. Wow. Yeah, it's so worth it.
And the weird thing when you're talking about, the moment when you're like, I'm watching a grown-up movie with my folks now. The weird thing is that turned out to not be true, right? Or rather, it turned out to not be validated by popular opinion.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
so I mean, I feel like among our peers somewhere, there's this special strata of people who know or think that Transformers, the movie, that first one, is one of the greatest pieces of shit ever.
Yeah.
And we're on a different team from like every other person's pop cultural taste in life almost.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you have to accept that it is the most blatant encapsulated commercialism ever, because really what it is it's saying, let's kill off all the characters that you've owned forever, so that way we can release a new toy line. You know, that's what the movie's all about. It's about generation 2 of Transformers. They have a new line of toys, and let's kill off all the old ones. And if you know that, I mean, it's kind of like pulling back the curtain in Disneyland. Do you want to see that or not? Like, do you want to live blissfully? But the truth is, we all have our childhood things that we excuse. So here's a great thing. For example, I mean, like, speaking of childhood things, my husband and I were walking. This is about like 11 years ago. We were walking, and my husband is from Massachusetts. He's from the East Coast, and he heard this woman in Noe Valley talking to her crying son. And she says, "What's the matter? Do you have an owie?" And my husband, Mark, said, "Owie? Oh my God, that is that's so awful. Like, well, the things people say these days are awful." And I said, "Well, what do you call them?" He goes, "It wasn't something as silly as owie. They're called boo-boos." And And we both looked at each other and we just started laughing. And yeah, the truth is, a lot of these things that we hold near and dear to our hearts aren't because they're good. They're not objectively good.
Right.
They're just things that really hit us the right way at a certain time. And Transformers the movie will always be the superior movie over any of the Michael Bay ones.
Oh, good God, yeah. It's such a weird thing that happened.
By the way, so just okay, just another geeky side note about Transformers the movie. One of my favorite songs in there is called "Escape." Do you know that one?
When's it happening?
It's when the Decepticons start landing on Earth, and Hot Rod and Spike's son. What's Spike's son's name?
Oh,
it's also an adjective. Like, you know, like spunky. Yeah,
probably Little Spike.
So Little Spike and Hot Rod are fishing, and they see the Autobot ship coming in through the atmosphere. And they get really excited. Hot Rod then transforms, lets Little Spike in. They're driving to get a better view. And before they find out, and when they zoom in and find out that the Autobot ship is full of dead Autobots, that's dark when you put it that way. The music changes and it becomes this really adventurous song, and that song's called "Escape." Now
wait a second. Okay, go ahead.
Now, if you're a gamer at all, there was a very big game from the late 80s and 90s called Turrican that was on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and the Amiga and the Commodore 64.
Okay.
And they all had a theme song that was, sounded like an adventurous sci-fi song. But for some reason, if you played it on the Commodore 64, it was that song from Transformers. It was "Escape."
What?
And I remember thinking it was so cool, and people were like, "Whoa, this is plagiarism." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's cool." Like, it is plagiarism.
It works for the moment, right?
Right, but I think they did get sued because when the Super Nintendo version came out, it was a completely different song.
Oh my God, that's crazy! I didn't know that. And I totally don't, because I thought you were talking about Dare, which goes into which is how.
Oh wait, you know what? It is Dare to believe. Right, but okay, so it is that, and there's a part when Dare starts to fade out, and Hot Rod drives off toward Autobot City, and then the next shot is Perceptor looking through his scope. And he transforms back into a robot and runs.
Yeah.
That song. Sorry, that song.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was talking about. And it recurs twice, and yes, but it has an instrumental and feeling change in the middle, middle bridge, whatever you would call.
Yeah.
That perfectly matches up with the part where, oh no, the Decepticons are here. It's so well done.
Oh, I know. And frankly, like I keep saying that Transformers the movie, now, and for the record, by the way, I'm a huge anime fan, and I'm a big Akira fan. But Transformers the movie in 1986 really popularized certain tropes from anime before Americans even got a lot of the biggest anime. Like when the touch starts, and that big liftoff that Prime has when he transforms, and he completes an arc over a bunch of Insecticons, and he just kind of fires these blasts, and then he does the land. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like John Woo meets any landing by a cool anime superstar.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally. Yeah.
This is 1986.
Right? Yeah. And it was beautifully framed, and something explodes behind him for no reason.
Yes.
Like, do you like the house?
It's like the only thing missing were doves coming out of the sides.
Someone should mash up the Optimus Prime attacks the Decepticon scenes with doves, and that would be like the perfect thing ever.
I know.
He's just mowing down all the Constructicons, and doves just start flying around. Anyway, we know way too much about this. And speaking of the touch, we can't get by without mentioning that the touch also shows up in another crazy part of pop culture, which is
Boogie Nights.
See, some people don't know this.
Actually, a lot of people I know who know that scene real well didn't even know it came from Transformers. And when I do mention it, so it's really funny. Here's like my childhood geekiness being beat down, coming back all over again. I always find myself as an adult talking about Boogie Nights, and you feel like you have that moment of like, oh yeah, we're all adults now, and like we're all kind of cool talking about Boogie Nights. And then I bring up, oh, that's actually from the Transformers, and then people are always like, no. I'm like, yes, it is. And they say no. And then you say
yes. That's impossible.
And then you say yes, it is. Then they say, oh, so it's an older song that Transformers also used. And then I suddenly feel like, you guys are not geeks. You guys don't know. No, it actually was created for Transformers the movie.
No one can stand by the Transformers with pride except a very few select people like you and me.
But you know what really sucks is, like, I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, people like you and me, that means geeks, right? Well, or that just means people who like Transformers. Why are some of the most mainstream people I know, like, you know, the cool kids, so into every Michael Bay Transformers film?
Oh God, I don't know who these
Makes
people
me think less of them. I'll be honest. You know who
yeah.
you are.
Right. Yes, absolutely agreed. And just to set up again for people who don't know what the hell we just said, in Boogie Nights, later on, Dirk tries. His name's Dirk, right?
Dirk Diggler, the lead character.
Yeah. Later on, Marky Wahlberg tries to have a singing career, and he's singing this awful song. Well, he's singing the song "The Touch" from the Transformers the movie, and we all went, "Wow, is that happening?" And also because part of the gag is he's singing it terribly.
Right.
So it's a gag within a gag that it's like a song that's thought supposed to be cheesy, sung terribly to show that he has no talent other than his penis. Right? So for geeks, I believe for true geeks, there are a bunch of different levels going on in that gag. And now we have just to, circle back. Now Mark Wahlberg is the guy in the Transformers movie with fucking Michael Bay, which is just ridiculous because they're still completely awful films.
Yeah.
On every measurable way.
I feel like the only way they can salvage that series is if they actually have Mark Wahlberg himself randomly break into The Touch by Stan Bush.
Thank you for that excellent suggestion. That would be good. Like to save the day in some way.
Right.
Like to combat sound waves, whatever broadcast of death. Anyway. Okay, I'm just spitballing there, but I think that's going to segue into another deployment of musicals in geek stuff, which is when the song is actually plot related and tactical somewhere within the context of what's happening, often a space battle. And of course, this will lead us to the king of that, which is Robotech. And it also is an anime trope, and you can feel free to educate me on which other anime use that trope a lot. But to set it up, like we talked about this before in our Robotech episode, a thing that happens is a lot is that the humans are facing a gigantic, overwhelming armada of war drones who have no personality, have never encountered pop culture, basically. So what they do to throw them off is some pop singer sings a really gooey pop song and broadcasts it to them, and it throws them all off mentally, and that's how they win the space battle. So it's actually intrinsically part of the strategy and I'm missing the word I'm looking for, but it's like really happening. It's not that it's not a soundtrack, and it's not because people like music. Right. It's like we have to sing a song right now.
Right. Yeah. Because the point of it is that the bad guys, the Zentradi, they're anthropomorphic. They're just these huge humans, but not because they're we don't know what makes them tick. We've spent multiple generations studying their technology. The technology that they've left on Earth, but we still don't know what makes the actual aliens themselves, Zentradi, tick. But something comes to mind when they realize that, all their war strategies and all their military tactics are like very, very tactical, right? And really, what it is, it's kind of like the age-old discussion of like, okay, emotion versus rationale. We can talk about like people saying like, okay, well, when emotion wins out, rationality kind of dies, or when rationality wins out, emotion dies, and that's like kind of like the basis of a lot of arguments, right? So what happens is they introduce the concept of love to Zentradi. The song is called "To Be in Love," and they introduce the concept of love. And I want to call him Igor, but it's not Igor. He's the Igor type character. The Igor type character. Exodor, right. Britai's right-hand man.
Right.
Gets freaked out by
the shortest of the Zentradi.
He's like the he is the shortest Zentradi, it's true.
Yeah, he's still a giant, but he's the shortest giant.
Right.
That's one cute thing about Exodor.
There's dialogue about them saying like, well, what are they talking about? What could this be? And I
Yeah,
love how
exactly.
that's just and for those of you who don't really know the show, I think we might be like maybe painting it with a broad stroke that makes it sound like this ended the war. It was the start of the end of the war, because what happened was we revealed as humans, like, this is something that we feel, and then they reveal that maybe it might be something that's possible to feel. Not that they can't feel it, but it might be something that's possible to feel. So like later on, they, as you know, Dom, like you have like one of the humans, which was Max Sterling, who then started like pursuing one of the Zendratis, Miria. And through some weird perverted turn of events, they decided to show a soap opera to these aliens. Do you remember that?
Oh, right.
They showed, and this was the turning point,
Yeah.
which even I, as a child, knew this was a little weird, because what they had was Min Mei. She kind of like she rose so far up the ladder that she wasn't just a pop star anymore. She was now she was acting,
Yeah.
and in order to show what love was, you couldn't just sing about it. I mean, they were already confused by that, but then they actually had her show an act of love. So they had her engage in a kiss. And it freaked out the Zendrati. Like they're literally like they're like losing their shit. Sorry, I can't swear, can I? Sorry.
No, yeah, you can swear. This is a swearing podcast.
Well, they're fucking losing their shit.
Sorry.
And and
you can't swear in Robotech, but you can swear on this podcast.
Well, but the funny thing is, I was losing my shit at home because the person she was kissing was her cousin. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So,
kissing cousins. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on there.
Kudos to Robotech for shocking both the humans and the Zendrati. I thought that was great. I thought I should just rewatch the whole thing and see if I find it as shocking now. But even as I talk about it now, I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm spot on about the plot. That was what happened.
No, I think that's exactly what it was. She was Lin Min Mei, and there's Lin Kyle, as he was called in Robotech, and they always made pretty sure he was a cousin of some kind. And yeah, they kiss.
Yeah, because he was an anti-war activist.
Yeah, and yeah. He is. He was an interesting character, and as a kid, it was easy to hate him because he was the one who wanted there to be less robot fighting, and we just wanted more robot fighting. Probably upon revisiting it, would be a more interesting character to delve into. But yeah, they do kiss, and because I can't imagine that's a mistranslation, and maybe they just are cousins.
Yeah, no, they're cousins, all right. Because they might have been rewritten to be cousins. I don't know. But if I can make a modern connection to this, I think a lot of this love that I have for that kind of storytelling is a lot of the reason why I love Bob's Burgers.
Okay, I like Bob's Burgers as well.
I feel like 8 out of every 10 episodes results in a musical number.
Okay,
and like the more recent ones were more plot oriented. I mean, they're all plot oriented, but like more recently, it's literally been kind of this. Like this song will save the day. This song that the whole cast will. And did you see the Thanksgiving special?
No, I did not.
The Quirky Turkey. Okay. Well, it's recent enough that I'm not going to spoil it, but it's very much what we're talking about.
Well, I will check that shit out. Yes, we all like the idea that songs save the day. And I'm glad you brought that up. Even the idea that an image of two cousins kissing could save the day.
Yeah.
But in a fictional environment, that's still weird. Yeah. But the song definitely saves the day several times. Okay, so great. And then of course in the third part there's Yellow Dancer, who's my favorite part of that trope. She's even cooler because I don't know, her songs are a little bit better somehow, and she's a very interesting transvestite, freedom fighter, purple hair, super cool.
Who sound to me was like, wow, it sounds just like Michelangelo from TMNT because he is.
Yeah, but right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And they're by the point. She does more songs as tactical distractions. I think there isn't that big like we need to, because the Invid aren't susceptible in the same way. But another just a key part of great moments in geek culture that involves songs and music. Okay, and again, still haven't seen Star Trek Beyond, right?
Not yet. No.
All right. Well, and I've already spoiled this in a couple different ways, but to my knowledge, it's the only recent time that the Min-May attack concept has come up again in like a large scale, legit Hollywood film.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
mean, it's the scene, the clip itself is available on YouTube, and it's on one of my Yum Yum F lists. And by the way, you're all welcome to traffic my stuff at Yum Yum F. And you know, we are supporting Justin Lin for his efforts on Star
Right.
Trek Beyond too. So you know, full disclosure.
Which is
But
why I'll watch the whole film. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll wait.
well, and there's good shit in it. But I can't remember another time when it was that important that this song be played, um, and it was going to save the day. There was just no other way the day was going to be saved.
And maybe not as massive, but I think the geekiest, most genre, most kind of nerdy Battle of the Bands movie I've ever seen is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah.
I mean, holy crap! Like every 10 minutes, like a song saves the day. You know?
Right. No, you're.
It's too bad the movie bombed. It's too bad the movie bombed. You know?
We were just talking about this in the bar the other day. Almost
Oh.
the same thing. Why do people not know why that movie's great? Why people really like disliked it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a good film.
I do think though, I mean, there are a lot of theories as to why it bombed. But because so many people hate it, make me realize why I love it. You know, I feel like most of the movies that I hold in my top 10 or top 20 are like, they're not the movies that get 98% in Rotten Tomatoes. You know,
Right.
A lot of times the movies that get 60. Like, I don't really want to see a movie that's a good, like a pretty well executed version of another movie I just saw. And I feel like Scott Pilgrim is pretty original. But one of the theories is that the movie came out during a time when Michael Cera was just oversaturated in Hollywood.
Perhaps, yes.
And I didn't mind. I actually thought he made a really. Have you read the comics?
I read some of the comics, not all of them. Yeah.
He makes a good one.
I thought it was great as it.
At the time, who else would have played him? They would have picked someone too old.
Yeah, no, I thought he was. As far as the character Scott Pilgrim goes, but he's just as damn good a person as he could get. Who's good? Tobey Maguire? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's who they would have picked. That or like Topher Grace or something. But like I do feel that movie is probably one of the geekiest movies I have ever seen. And
totally.
And that might be why it bombed, because it went there often. I mean, the movie opens with the Triforce sound from The Legend of Zelda. You know?
Yeah.
And they actually orchestrate, like during one of the love scenes, like when he's falling in love, they actually they play the fairy fountain music from Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and it slowly becomes orchestrated. And it's like, wow, they paid so much attention to a lot of like video game and comic culture.
Yeah.
That I realize a lot of my friends, while I'm watching, because I've seen it only about 19 times, every time I watch it with people, there are a lot of people who are like, this is going over my head. What is this in reference to?
Mm.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I thought these were all just references that are okay with going over your head, because in the end, it's really just a Battle of the Bands movie. But I think a lot of people, and a good friend of mine who's actually in my band, he himself said, I don't know what I'm supposed to let go of or try to like rack my brain and say, oh, wait, do I get this reference?
Mm.
I'm like, huh, that's interesting, because I never have, because I don't think I get everything in Scott Pilgrim, but I think I get about 90%.
Right, and you don't need to. It's all of it, but it is all of a piece. It's saying, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes people get hung up on when they don't feel like they get enough references, or they're not equipped geekily enough, and they have anxiety about it, as people have anxiety about geeks doing anything well or achieving anything. But this might make a good segue into the show. We do the last part called Issues, where we sort of complain about things relevant to our topic.
Okay.
And that's one aspect that we could play about. And it sort of circles back to the thing of when you were talking with your friends about Boogie Nights, like, it gets back to, there is this stigma against musicals. There's a stigma, and people resist liking them, and they want to say that thing is stupid because it had a musical number.
Right.
Whereas
I mean, people
like me who were like, that thing is superior because it has a musical number. What are you talking about?
Right.
So I don't know. What did the
Well, so I mean, like, I remember talking to a neighbor once who loved South Park. I said, "Dude, have you seen the movie? It's amazing." He's like, "Yeah, I liked it, but all the singing sucked." Like, why did it have all the singing? And I remember thinking, because it's a musical, and it's great. It's a great musical. But if I had to like think back on like where I come from specifically, just like from my own personal experience, I mean, I was kind of a nerd growing up. Like this, if I wanted to like make a distinction, I was a nerd. You know, like there I was like reading all my books, and I was programming games, building robots, and writing plays. You know, and like it's something very creative about that, about being a nerd, right? And when I was bullied, I would try to calibrate my nerdiness by only revealing the popular and dorky stuff about my nerdiness, like my love for video games and sci-fi and fantasy, which is what got me relabeled as a geek. People don't want to hang out while you code games. People want to hang out while you play games. You know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of like made this distinction for me. So suffice to say, I was a big musical geek and a nerd. And that I was closeted too. I mean, come on, I was an 8-year-old gay Asian boy, you know, I mean, not the most popular kid, right? So I had to downplay my love for musicals because I didn't want to be accused of being gay, you know? So whenever geekiness intersected with music, like Transformers the movie, or even let's say something as recent as like maybe the ending of Spider-Man 3, you know, not the greatest movie, but like things like that. Whenever there are musical numbers in things that are kind of like geeky mainstream, there's a moment where I kind of feel like, oh, I'm allowed to like this. This is okay, you know. And Min May was one of those moments, you know, to be in love. So if I could make a direct comparison, I can sit there with all of my male hetero friends, or, you know, presumably hetero at the time, who knew, right? But, you know, all of my straight male friends watching Robotech, and everyone's getting into the story about music saving the day. I can do that and be allowed to like it without watching Gem and the Holograms, which I also liked.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Gem and the Holograms was also in an animated show that was out around the same time, but I wouldn't be caught dead watching that.
Are you saying you yourself felt exposed somehow if you were watching Gem and the Holograms?
Yeah, but watching Robotech with my friends was like, oh, this is okay. Like I can get my musical fix here. Like it intersects in a way that still makes it masculine and geeky. Whereas watching Gem and the Holograms is very much like, dude, what are you, gay? You know?
Yeah. Wow. That's that's a very interesting subsection of geeky shows that you just defined there. Just wonder what that section of the video store looks like.
Oh, I'll tell you what that.
I totally understand. I mean, Gem and Holograms is obviously highly featured in it, and it's and yeah, that's highly interesting. Yeah, and I guess for me, you know, with similar but not totally the same kind of conflicts growing up as a nerdy person. I guess part of it is I wanted my, you know, masculine side of space wars and robots beating the shit out of each other to, you know, to coexist with my more secreted love for musicals and people singing sweetly together and dance numbers. You know, I guess. So I don't know if there was a sort of posturing in me that was going on there, or if it's naturally, you know, just whatever general rule forming that you gotta like the robots and the violence and shit. But I honestly did like both those things, and I guess I felt I felt this great inner peace when I saw them combined. I did perhaps feel a little exposed and weird because no one else seemed to be like, you know, jumping up and down as much as me. So that's just, I don't know. That's just one, you know, it's why I still search out these musical moments whenever. So I think we're going to sum up soon. And do you have any closing thoughts just in this topic, great musical moments in geek cultures?
Well, I mean, just something I've been thinking about this whole hour is, like, you know, we're talking about movies, we're talking about television. These are all like time-based motion formats, right? And we're all witnessing this with people. You know, we're watching it with our friends, our family, and there's something specific to having the same rhythm as the people around you, you know, and nothing sets a rhythm better than a song. Like if everyone's singing along to something, like that's communal. There's something that feels very much like we are all putting our differences aside for this 3.5 minutes, you know, just to listen to, you know, Min May singing, what's the other song?
We Will Win.
No, it's
a couple.
It sounds like a rip off of the Mary Tyler Moore song. You know what I'm talking about?
I know she has a couple. Stage Fright, To Be in Love, We Will
Yeah,
Win.
Stage Fright. Is it called
Stage
Stage Fright?
Fright, slashing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Have you listened to those songs again recently? I can't listen to them anymore. Anyway.
Well, I mean, side note, I didn't
Yeah.
actually like any of Min-May's songs.
Right.
I didn't
Exactly.
like them
Yeah.
as songs, but I
Yeah.
loved the trope. And when it got to Yellow Dancer, I actually kind of groove on those songs. Like
Yeah.
I'll
Those are actually better
Winter
songs.
Soldier Boy in the car and be like, yeah, all
Right.
right. But yes. Anyway, sorry, but yeah. Back to what you were saying. Yes, I mean, I could say it better. Ding, totally. Communal 3.5 minutes. We're all in this together.
Yeah. And that's why I think like when these things pop up, and again, Spider-Man 3 is not a perfect movie, but to end with that, it's kind of watching that in the theater and actually having people cheering at the end of that. It's like, oh, what we just shared that moment right now.
Wait, are you talking about? I'm not remembering.
Oh,
Right, which moment are you talking about?
I'm through with love. Uh, when she's singing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mary Jane sings
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the weird dance scene in the middle where he goes evil.
Oh, I mean, actually, no, you're right. That actually technically is more of a musical number. That's true. But yeah. I was thinking of like movies that end with musicals, or and with
Okay, yeah, but absolutely, yeah. And okay, that was a good obscure one, and I'll mention my obscure one is the end of Takashi Kitano's version of Zaituichi, um, which is a long-running Japanese movie series about a blind swordsman. Have you seen that one? Or no?
I haven't seen his version. No.
Okay, his version's pretty darn good. And then at the end, almost without a big reason, there's a gigantic uh, percussion-based dance number of just people drumming, working, dancing, and celebrating. And there's some sword play. And again, like it doesn't make any sense, but it needs to be there too. And it's at the actual end of the movie, and it's wonderful.
Oh, cool.
So again, yeah, stay around for that last musical number, kids. Um, Okay, well, we've thank you very much, HP. We've brought up things that may be fodder for future podcasts for sure. When closing out, we just say really quickly what we're doing in the world. Anything you're working on, want to plug or mention?
Well, I'm currently working with the SF Film Society right now. My next film, which is called Bitter Melon. It's one of those, those Christmas comedies when like the whole family gets back together and hilarity ensues.
Mhm.
But the hilarity in question here is this is actually a Filipino-American family getting back together for one night to try to kill the black sheep of the family.
Literally kill them.
Yeah, like literally die, make dead.
That's dark, man.
Yeah, no, well, but on a lighter note, the other movie
Cool.
on a much lighter note, I'm also working on a movie that looks like a 16-bit video game that's actually a sci-fi fantasy musical.
Oh, great. You mean it'll be animated as such, or looks like?
It'll jump around, but like in animation styles. But for the most part, the resolution of the movie is generally like 512 by 384. Like it's pixelated as hell.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, pixel. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, as long as it's better than Pixels, that whatever that freaking
I will not watch that.
Adam Sandler movie was. But yeah,
there's an example of like geekdom being harnessed by non-geeks to make money off of geeks.
All wrong.
Yeah.
Except for that one line, "You smell so nice," like the Book of Genesis. That was funny because I just didn't ever say what it meant. Do you remember that one?
No.
Is that a thing that people say?
No.
At one point, some dude says to a girl, "You smell so nice, like the Book of Genesis." I spent the rest of that boring movie just wondering what that meant. What's the Book of Genesis smell nice? Anyway.
Wait, you actually watched it? Holy crap.
Of course I think I was charged to review it for Yum Yum F because it was one of the tentpole movies at the time and geeky. And so in my wheelhouse, and it's sometimes it's a sad wheelhouse to be in because like you're expected to have an opinion on things like Pixels. Anyway, Pixels is crap. Transformers, the movie from 1986, is good. Yes. All the other Transformers movies are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Dominic Ma.
And I'm HP Mendoza.
And I'm still working on karaokerhapsody.com, which has many fun intersections of geekiness and music, which is part of why I want to do this episode. And we're going to have a Spider-Man Cyndi Lauper video pretty soon. We're going to have what else do we do that was funny? that's things involving cosplay and beloved karaoke songs. So you're all welcome to keep on top of that. And again, I'll say thank you, HP, because I respect and I'm a big fan of you as an artist, and for since our tastes intersect so in so many ways, it's a honor to have done this guest hosted podcast with you, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, likewise, and I'm glad I was told halfway through that I was allowed to swear, because that's my tick. So thanks for having me on the show.
I could see you holding it in through the first half hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever come back, and you can catch up on all your swearing.
Yeah, I'll get it all out of my system in the first 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll add some in post if it'll make you feel comfortable.
It'll be someone else's voice completely.
Right. Fuck.
Right.
Really fucking mean is okay. Great. So we're wrap this up now. But everyone got sing a song together. It's in the world. It's important, and it can happen. There's nothing stopping you from just doing it with people on the street, except that it's Trump's America, and they'll look at you funny and maybe beat you up. But even more to the point, the more why you should do it.
Can I plug one thing?
Yeah.
You can do it. We're doing it this Sunday. I just joined the Bay Area Flash Mob, and we're going to find a bunch of places in which we can just burst into a musical number.
Great.
Yeah. Be on the lookout for flash mobs. And if you feel like you guys ever want to do that, just join a flash mob. It's the best way to just kind of burst into song and have the support of your homies behind you. Like, yeah, this is weird, but we're all in it together.
Yeah, totally. All right, great. Yeah, great thought. Yes, it does happen. It does happen in your life. And we can make it happen. Okay. And perhaps if you'll send me a link, I can link that into the show notes and all that. Cool. Well, anyway, this has been Elevating the Genre, our first guest hosted show while Chris is off making his movie. And I'm Dominic, and
I'm HP.
Sorry, that's not the smoothest outro, but anyway. See y'all later.
Bye.